This is Part 2, Episode 152. There was no other choice but to concede. That terrifying domain of purification seemed to suppress the darkness attribute in a way no weaker than a light attribute domain. Not only was his spiritual energy purified, but moreover, his soul was the target. Even more terrifyingly, the purified spiritual energy was the core of his power. That is to say that under the effects of the domain of purification, his cultivation would continuously decrease. How could Mo Wu bear such a loss? As for the escape of the Dark Sovereign, his only reason was that he was afraid, having gotten caught by a terrible sense of dread. Perhaps he was strong enough to put up a fight against Kia, but how about after that? If the domain of purification were to purify his soul, he would be gone forever. The Dark Sovereign was no idiot, and he had no deep bond with Mo Wu, only a special connection. How could he be willing to throw his life away for the sake of this connection? That was simply impossible. Just go die by yourself if that's what you want, but don't implicate me. After sensing the terror of the domain of purification, the Dark Sovereign instantly fled. Kia slowly landed from the sky, retrieved the petals forming domain of purification, and flashed out of the match ground, after shooting a glance at Mo Wu. Actually, the most disadvantaged in this individual competition out of Bright Glimmer of Hope was Kia. Although she did have her domain of purification, her real fighting strength lay mostly in the sickle of the God of Death she had been cultivating since young. Without the real weapon in her hands, she had no way to wield the 7 arts of the God of Death. Furthermore, in times of battle, the sickle of the God of Death would be struggling to get out, so not only could Kia not use it, but had moreover to put some of her focus on suppressing it. So it would be already pretty good for Kia to wield a half of her strength in this individual competition, and her terrifying bursting force could by no means be displayed. The 4th match in Bright Glimmer of Hope's ranks was designated. They had already occupied a third of the spots, and moreover had a person who had yet to take part. When Chen Yinga went on stage, she encountered the last leftover competitor of the Assassin Temple, and managed to achieve victory by the means of her powerful summoning magic. The 4th match having ended, time had come for the 5th and more terrifying leader match. The individual competition having reached this point, Bright Glimmer of Hope's advance was already unstoppable. A group of 10, formed with 2 powerhouses reaching the peak of the 8th step, and 8 reaching the 9th step, with 4 domain-wielding powerhouses among the lot. Their captain Long Haochen had displayed the use of the 2 ultimate weapons known as Domain Technique and Domain Evolution, managing to defeat 2 temple heads, and the number 1 powerhouse of the Night Temple. A lot of people sensed that this temple's great gathering would inevitably get recorded in the annals. And they were still so young. If they were given enough time to keep growing, destroying demonkind wouldn't be impossible. Although each of the 6 great temples had its own way to do things, which caused the Temple Alliance to be relatively dispersed, their struggle for over 6,000 years of Dark Era against demonkind had already lasted for far too long. Who knew how much blood of how many powerhouses of the 6 temples had flown? Bright Glimmer of Hope were really showing them a glimmer of a new dawn, and causing indescribable feelings to rise up in a lot of people's minds. If there was one thing it brought to them, they would definitely declare that it's hope. Each victor of the 4th round could gain 8 points, and after passing through this hurdle, the Night Temple had only 2 people left. The Mage Temple had 3, the Spiritual Temple had 2, and Bright Glimmer of Hope had 2. The Assassin Temple and Warrior Temple were already eliminated. Thanks to this 4th round, 5 of them had already earned 40 more points, giving them a proud lead score of 96 points, after getting added to their previous 56 points. The Mage Temple was second with 89 points, the Night Temple, third with 82 points, the Spiritual Temple fourth with 58 points, the Assassin Temple still had 34 points, and the Warrior Temple remained at 24 points. As it was already noon, if the temple's great gathering proceeded normally, the winner will come out today. Although the schedule was delayed with yesterday's incident, the matches still had to go on. The 5 temples and Bright Glimmer of Hope had already gotten the news that no matter how late it ends, the individual matches need to be done with today. The matches in the temple's great gathering did not last for long. These were definitely not matches of long time endurance, the main reason for that being the demon threat. What if demonkind took advantage of the return of a great amount of powerhouses from the 6 great temples to the Holy City to launch a large-scale raid? As a result, although the temple's great gathering was taking place once every 10 years, the specific starting time would be fixed at the last moment to prevent the demon's side from grasping their rhythm. So the time of the gathering was compressed as far as possible, to enable to powerhouses from all temples to return as soon as possible when it's all done. This was especially the case this time, as a series of new policies and important matters pertaining to the whole alliance needed to be discussed. After the 4th rounds were over and the points were totaled, the 5th round of matches immediately took place. It had a total of 6 matches, and although based on the prior patterns, Bright Glimmer of Hope's 5 remaining members would get placed in 5 of the matches, running into each other was not impossible for them. But in short, Bright Glimmer of Hope would have to face at the same time the top of the Knight, Mage, and Spiritual temples. Every one of their remaining members had gotten over 16 points, but although Bright Glimmer was currently in the lead, that lead was not yet stable and could change at any time. The first match was already a great clash of power. Chen Ying's good luck seemed to be finally exhausted, the light of selection having landed on her and the head of the Mage Temple, Li Jingji. Long Haochen's expression changed slightly, looking face to face at Chen Ying, before she nodded back to him, standing up and slowly advancing toward the stage. In this match, Li Jingji was especially calm. Although Bright Glimmer of Hope had gotten prideful results, he remained impassive, his feelings devoid of the slightest ripple. Who knew if he really did not care about them, or had other kinds of thoughts? Currently, the only leftover temple leader was Li Jingji, the other 4 having all gotten eliminated. Him facing Chen Ying right off the bat really rose the excitation of the spectators to the peak. This Chen Ying was a domain wielder as well. Could Bright Glimmer of Hope keep bringing nice surprises to everyone here? With a faint smile on her face, Chen Ying advanced to the field, performing a salute to Li Jingji. After all, Li Jingji was still a senior. Li Jingji nodded slightly, and performed an inviting gesture. With his status, there's naturally no way he could rush to take the first move against someone of Chen Ying's age. Chen Ying directly sat cross-legged before starting a chant, without the slightest defensive measure taken beforehand. Looking at her, Li Jingji couldn't help but smile in reaction. What a girl! She was clearly taking advantage of his unwillingness to take the first move. But even if I don't take the first move, do you really think I have no other means? Li Jingji maintained a slight smile, but still kept standing still and started a chant. A fantastic calm filled the whole stadium. Ever since the start of the temple's great gathering, this was the first time 2 mags were facing off each other without the slightest probing attack. An insipid entity spread out from Li Jingji's body, very rapidly taking shape on his back, forming green light interwoven around him. Being shaped into an enlarged version of Li Jingji, its chubby looks actually gave off a silly feeling of cuteness. Seated on the Knight Temple's side, Long Haochen couldn't help but feel a chill of alarm. Li Jingji used a sort of wind god summoning magic, but which took less than 20 seconds to complete. The formidable power of this spell reached the forbidden spell level without a doubt. That was just crazy. Furthermore, that was accomplished without any equipment, and in the meantime, Li Jingji had yet to even deploy his wind god domain. Chen Ying seemed not to be perturbed by Li Jingji's magic at all, still continuing her chant, which continued in an even more obscure and redundant manner. After that, some changes finally couldn't help but occur to Li Jingji's face, because he couldn't identify the spell corresponding to her incantation. As a peak-level mage, Li Jingji may be unwilling to make the first move, but was even least willing to remain passive. So he immediately made preparations for a forbidden spell. This way, no matter what kind of magical beast gets called out by Chen Ying, he could be confident in being able to destroy it with his magic. Even if Chen Ying would come with an especially strong magical beast, he could still make use of the wind god domain to boost his own magic. It was not that Li Jingji couldn't cast multiple spells, but he didn't see such a need. Moreover, maintaining a magic, after cast, without releasing it would come with a very large spiritual energy consumption. He really did not expect Chen Ying's cast to take such a long time. For this girl being a powerhouse of the 9th step, as well to need such a long time to achieve her chant, just what level could this summoning magic reach? Although Li Jingji had some ideas on the matter, he had still underestimated the chanting time Chen Yinge would take. In a blink of an eye, 3 minutes had passed, yet Chen Yinge was still going on, and her spell had yet to take effect. If it wasn't because he already knew that Chen Yinge had reached the 9th step, Li Jingji would be thinking of her to be faking a chant. Just what chant could last so long? Girl, if you keep going on like that, this old man will make his move. Li Jingji's dim voice reverberated in the whole stadium. Even for his face, he couldn't waste his energy in this temple's great gathering. Maintaining this forbidden spell depleted his spiritual energy rapidly, and as other matches were coming next, an excessive consumption would very clearly be unfavorable to him. Right after Li Jingji was done speaking, Chen Yinge suddenly opened her eyes and showed him a sweet smile, giving the reply, "Done." Saying that, Chen Yinge lifted her hands and extended her fingertip, pointing her palms upwards, as if releasing something. Immediately, roars from myriad beasts came gushing out from her body like a tsunami, but moreover, it was accompanied with the images of countless magical beasts coming out behind Chen Yinge's back. Is that a domain? But how could a domain need such a long chant? Li Jingji recognized in a glance a powerful summoner domain. Could that be the same beast emperor domain as her grandfather? Chen Yinge had displayed the use of her domain in the previous matches, but only in the shape of single-targeted amplifications of magical beasts, aimed at most at 2 targets, but seeing such a large area extended domain from her was really a first. The next instant after Li Jingji was filled with those questions, his look changed. Light gates surfaced in an orderly manner behind Chen Yinge's back. Seeing these, the most shocked were no one else, but those from her own spiritual temple. Even the head of the spiritual temple Chen Hongyu was dumbstruck by this scene. He never thought his own granddaughter to be able to utilize such a magic. He was also puzzled over why Chen Yinge had been chanting for so long. Even after having been in control of the spiritual temple for so many years, he had no memories of such a long chant from their spiritual temple. Even summoning a magical beast of the 9th step wouldn't need so long. Otherwise, in the battlefield, a summoner had the time to die 100 times in the lapse of 3 minutes. Right now, Chen Hongyu was really crushed by his own granddaughter, and the same went for every present summoners, who never expected a single summoner to be able to display a strength reaching such a peak. Just count these gates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Counting them in a glance was simply impossible. These gates formed an immense semicircular shape, as if surrounding and protecting Chen Yinge. In the midst of those myriad beasts' roars, all the light gates opened at the same time, letting magical beasts come out one after another from within. There were a total of 36 light gates, from whence 36 magical beasts immediately came out right upon appearance. Seeing these magical beasts, Li Jingji's look became slightly better. They only reached the 8th step and not the 9th. If Chen Yinge was able to summon 36 magical beasts equivalent to powerhouses of the 9th step at once, that would really be overly terrifying. But even so, Chen Yinge summoning magic still shocked the whole audience. 36 simultaneous magical beasts of the 8th step, what was that? That would be enough to turn the tides in a whole portion of the battlefield in just a few instants. So Bright Glimmer of Hope's most powerful member was this summoner. The other members of Bright Glimmer of Hope had their own conclusion on whether Chen Yinge was the most powerful, but one thing was certain, she was a god's chosen one just like Long Haochen and Caia. Even if she may not have earned as much as Long Haochen and Caia in these years, she was in no way inferior. This summon before her eyes had depleted all her spiritual energy, but what if she had her saint's spiritual robe? Would the chanting time even be so long? And the same goes for her spiritual energy. Even Long Haochen hadn't had a clear understanding of Chen Yinge's real strength. Right now Bright Glimmer of Hope could already be said to have in some meaning 3 cores, one of them being Chen Yinge. In the previous match, Chen Yinge had exercised great restraint, but finally came out with her full strength when facing Li Jingji. After returning the day before, the members of Bright Glimmer of Hope convened a simple meeting, as they were certain to run against Li Jingji on today. But how should they counter him? They very rapidly reached a conclusion: no matter who encounters Li Jingji, that person has, while making an all-out effort in battle, to deplete to the greatest extent the opponent's strength. After all, even though Li Jingji's strength was not at Yang Haoyu's level, it should not differ too much. It was because the other side let him win that Long Haochen had managed to win against Yang Haoyu, but in a 1 versus 1, Haochen was not confident in being able to surely defeat Li Jingji. But their Demon Hunt Squad bright glimmer of hope was a whole, and a whole was bound to be even stronger than separate individuals. And since the individual competition would end today anyway, better focus on the team battles. Zhong Fangfang had previously effectively depleted Li Jingji, but since a lot of matches had gone on since then, his spiritual energy should have already gotten replenished. But in this match, Chen Yinge had already resolved herself to at least make Li Jingji use up the overwhelming majority of his fighting strength, if she could not defeat him. Chen Yinge's plan went on right off the bat, making plentiful use of Li Jingji's high esteem of his status to complete her summoning spell of largest scale. 36 magical beasts of the 8th step appearing in the stadium simultaneously had absolutely shaken the whole audience. Although these magical beasts were of different races, they listened wholeheartedly to Chen Yinge's orders. Right off the bat, they madly charged at Li Jingji. Li Jingji snorted coldly. Mere magical beasts reaching the 8th step were nothing in his eyes. Even if they were even more numerous, at his cultivation level, killing magical beasts of this level was just too simple. As he waved his hands, the massive green figure on his back immediately drifted away, both hands raised to the sky releasing green moon-shaped blades. It appeared like an uncrossable barrier standing in front of Li Jingji. But his look grew unsightly once again the next instant. Chen Yinge issued a shriek, and immediately, the myriad beasts' images that had come out previously solidified, rushing at the magical beasts of the 8th step that had surged out, and attached themselves onto them, causing the beasts to start undergoing rapid changes. A gigantic black bear bellowed loudly, swelling to twice its previous size, growing twice as large, as its hairs astonishingly started to turn into a dark gold color. In the midst of roars, it let out terrifying seismic waves aimed at the wind god called out by Li Jingji. Evolution. What Chen Yinge had utilized was obviously not the same myriad beasts domain as Chen Hongyu, but her mythologic beast domain. Being the beast god's chosen one, a unique saint spiritual daughter to have come in existence in the human world, her boosting ability on magical beasts fundamentally even exceeded Yi Xiaolei's back in the illusory paradise. Under the boost of the Beast Emperor domain, these magical beasts of the 8th step all evolved to the 9th step, turning into 36 magical beasts of the 9th step, releasing a terrible might which frantically pounced on Li Jingji. A miscalculation. Li Jingji had immediately come to this judgment, causing him to have traces of regrets. He really should not have let Chen Yinge complete her previous magic. 36 magical beasts of the 9th step and 36 magical beasts of the 8th step were two fundamentally different concepts. After completion of these global boosts, Chen Yinge sat down in a quite weakened state, but still had the energy to ferociously utter, "Everyone, get rid of him." 36 magical beasts of the 9th step pouncing on a single opponent was a really spectacular sight. The pair of massive moon-shaped blades in the wind god's hands managed to stop the attack of 3 magical beasts of the 9th step, but then started to get somewhat unstable. 9th step would be the assessment based on human cultivation, but in terms of magical beast grade, these would be magical beasts of the 10th rank. They may not be as strong as the 4-headed Medusa or divine unicorn, but as magical beasts of 10th rank, they still reached the peak of magical beasts. Simply said, right now it was as if Li Jingji was assaulted by the whole Golden Foundation Knight Regiment. That lineup didn't feel any easier to face. Not daring to take things easy, Li Jingji immediately unleashed the Wind God domain, not daring to let these 36 magical beasts of the 9th step unleash all their power. If it really went like that, himself aside, even the Demon God Emperor could find that situation troublesome. Right now, Li Jingji completely flared up. A strong display of power immediately surged out, as a terrible hurricane immediately swept all the 36 magical beasts of the 9th step. Immediately, the beasts' attacks got twisted aside while slowing down under the hurricane's effects. This was not a simple domain. For constricting so many magical beasts of the 9th step, that could only be a domain technique. For the sake of safety, and to make sure to achieve victory in this match, Li Jingji had no other choice but to utilize his own domain technique. That terrible hurricane was entirely colored dark green. Everywhere it passed, every magical beast it encountered was getting cut frantically. If these were magical beasts of the 8th step, their bodies would certainly get smashed to pieces under attacks of this level. But magical beasts of the 9th step were not the same. Their defensive power was far stronger than at the 8th step, so there was no immediate danger for them. Chen Yinga ignored this situation, only silently sitting there to replenish her spiritual energy, the little pygmic doll being held in her arms. Li Jingji, having restricted these magical beasts, thanks to his domain technique, his wind god summoning's power started to emerge. With the boost from the wind god domain, Li Jingji's wind god incarnated body gained an explosive burst in speed and offensive power. In a flash of green light, that gigantic bear stood like nothing in its way, while in response his incarnation got repelled 10 meters back in the blast of the bear's palm attack. But in front of the wind god domain's amplification, an attack of this level was nothing. The look on Li Jingji's face did not improve, just because of getting rid of one magical beast of the 9th step. Quite the opposite, it got even more strained. A domain technique's spiritual energy consumption could only be described as terrifying, even with his internal spiritual energy having already broken through 400,000, he couldn't keep utilizing it for too long. He had only one choice left now, which would be to take advantage of the situation to get rid of Chen Yinga. This way these magical beasts would go out of control, causing a better turn for his situation. But Chen Yinga could not be killed, as this temple's great gathering was no battle of life or death. So in some meaning, Chen Yinga was making perfect use of the rules. So, he could currently not attack Chen Yinga, as a summoner's body was the weakest, causing Li Jingji to really fear killing carelessly such a genius. But unless Chen Yinga was killed, these magical beasts wouldn't go out of control. If they kept besieging him, even if getting rid of the majority was possible, that would take him just far too long. Furthermore, the summoning spell having been completed, these 36 light gates closed up and disappeared, but these magical beasts wouldn't return to their original dwellings unless Chen Yinga consented. Thus, killing them was the only way to conclude this battle. Having come to this accurate conclusion, Li Jingji didn't show any more hesitation. Crossing his hands in front of him, 2 glistening green surges of light flared out from his eyes. A frantic fighting intent rose from Li Jingji, the hurricanes from the domain technique deriving from the wind god domain suddenly slowing down. That wind god summon's body swiftly returned to Li Jingji, and unexpectedly enveloped him inside, before shrinking and making its way inside Li Jingji's body. Right now, Li Jingji's body was entirely colored a dazzling green. His right hand shot up, a palm-sized wind blade came flying out, appearing unstable, and visibly constituted of green wind. In a blink of an eye, it landed against a magical beast of the 9th step, which had its speed slowed down greatly as a result, just as if it had fallen in a quagmire. But even so, what could a mere wind blade produce for a magical beast of the 9th step other than tickles? But the next instant, Li Jingji displayed the power of his second domain technique. With a light pop, that green-colored wind blade nimbly made way into the body of the magical beast of 9th step, and a second later, the latter turned into a green color, eyes flushed green, and abruptly blasted apart, not even leaving any splatter of flesh, just disappearing in the midst of these wind blades. This is... Chen Yinga was dumbstruck, because she did not understand at all what Li Jingji just did. While she was so shocked, Li Jingji's hands shot in succession, releasing similar wind blades as just before. The results were identical. Everywhere these wind blades passed, no magical beast of the 9th step could bear the attack. All of them went extinct in a cold breeze, leaving not even a corpse behind. The look in Long Houchen's eyes was extremely heavy, gradually seeing through some of the mysteries behind Li Jingji's second domain technique. The true essence of wind. He has already grasped the true essence of wind. What's the true essence of wind? That's freedom. By causing the freedom displayed in wind to rise to the peak, this second domain technique was created. Right, this second domain technique used by Li Jingji was called freedom. Over 30 magical beasts of the 9th step dissipated in this freedom. And when the final one dissipated, Li Jingji's body swayed, but the look in his eyes was still as grave. Letting out a tyrannical roar, MacDull and Chen Yinger's bosom leaped up, enlarging in the blink of an eye. The instant it landed onto the ground, a lot of eyes turned toward Chen Hongyu unwittingly. That's because MacDull had just transformed into Chen Hongyu's contracted magical beast, a four-headed chimera. Groar. Four spits bombarded straight onto the wind god domain. But as MacDull was just shape-shifting, his strength differed quite importantly with a real four-headed chimera, so these four spits didn't make one, but were only thrown separately. But, even so, that attack reached the 9th step. However, a domain technique derived from the wind god domain was indeed powerful. When these four spits came in, they were immediately first slowed down by the hurricanes, before immediately breaking down and turning into nothingness. Lifting his hand, Li Jingji formed another wind blade in his palm, calmly declaring to Chen Yinger, "I don't want to cause your contracted summon's death. Just surrender." Seeing the cold look in Li Jingji's eyes, Chen Yinger slowly stood up and snorted, "If equipment were allowed, you would not necessarily have achieved victory against me." Li Jingji smiled to that, but didn't say anything. As a senior, he couldn't say likewise, "My equipment is not below yours." The green wind blade in his hand came flying, rushing straight toward MacDull. Chen Yinger had a fright. After so many magical beasts of the 9th step had just gotten killed by these regular-looking wind blades, she really did not dare to gamble with MacDull's life, and hurriedly shouted, "I concede." The wind blade dissipating in the air, Li Jingji's domain instantly vanished, leaving him looking obviously pale, although his footstep was still rather steady. Chen Yinger tiredly returned to her comrade's side, pouting and visibly dissatisfied with the results of her battle. "Boss, do you think that with my best setup, I could have had better chances to achieve victory?" Long Houchen smiled to that, "Don't be so displeased. Li Jingji's cultivation is really at a formidable level. You already did very well, Yinger." Although he didn't really know to which extent Li Jingji was really exhausted, the use of the latter's domain plus 2 domain techniques should have come with a considerable consumption. At least, Li Jingji couldn't possibly get back to his optimum state before his next match. Bright Glimmer of Hope had another member eliminated, but no one found Chen Yinger's performance to be a loser's. She had just summoned 36 magical beasts of the 9th step. That was more than enough to withstand a Demon Emperor Legion. A summoner reaching such a state could already not simply be said to have reached the peak level. The flash of light landed this time on Lin Xin, opposing him with a knight. The strongest ones in the Night Temples were Yang Haoyu and Long Qianying, who were already eliminated, but the Night Temple still had 2 contestants in this 5th round. From this, one could well imagine how powerful these knights were. Lin Xin was on the verge of facing a domain-wielding Holy Knight of the 9th step. Entering the stage, Lin Xin's expression immediately became all the more serious. He knew that this was going to be his greatest hurdle since the start of the temple's great gathering. No matter whether he could win, he had to give his all, and do his best to weaken his opponent. Although this opponent was from the Night Temple, at least 3 people from their side would very likely emerge. So, weakening the opponent would serve well as setup for his comrades' later stages. Although, of course, the best would be to win against the opponent. The Holy Knight was very old, both hair and beard colored white. His age did not look any lower than Long Qianying's. In front of Lin Xin, he did not immediately summon his mount. Lifting his left hand to summon a brilliant colored shield, he permeated it with the power of spiritual highland. This was a guardian knight, looking impassible. Facing the opponent, Lin Xin suddenly had a strange feeling, because he realized with surprise that even after so many rounds had passed, this holy knight should have made it here with formidable displays of power, yet he hadn't left any impression in his heart. What could it mean that he managed to make it here in such a low-key fashion? A guardian knight should not be expert in fighting a duel, therefore that was a hidden card of the Night Temple. After Yang Haoyu had now come such a low-key and powerful guardian knight. Truly, the Night Temple deserved the number 1 rank out of the Temple Alliance. So, perhaps even without the emergence of the Bright Glimmer of Hope, the Mage Temple would hardly have managed to overwhelm the Night Temple. And that was under the premise that only one of their 3 divine knights had come. These years, the Mage Temple could be said to have had unlimited prospects, especially after the Holy War, because the damage they had sustained was the lowest, their achievements in the battlefield the greatest, their development making the Knight Temple completely pale in comparison. But when it really came to this temple's great gathering, the Knights really had the strongest hidden trumps in the battle determining the 6 great temples' rankings. If not for bright glimmer of Hope's presence, the Knight Temple would be 80% sure of remaining in the lead. Lin Xin's eyes flashed in blue light, a pair of immense fire wings growing from his back. His spiritual wings were greatly different compared to ordinary mags, first and foremost in their size. The size of one's spiritual wings generally related with one's strength. Long Houchen's multiple wings being a special case, generally the size of one's spiritual wings would increase as one's cultivation grows. But even if Lin Xin had just recently broken through the 9th step, the size of his spiritual wings could already match with the wind wings of the Mage Temple's head Li Jingji. The immense wings unfolded, extending out over 10 meters. It appeared just like a fire wall extending from behind his back. Furthermore, the fire on Lin Xin's spiritual wings appeared in the form of blue flames. As his cultivation had kept going up, going past the 9th step, his heart of fire gained a fascinating tinge of beauty. As his spiritual wings moved rhythmically, a shallow blue color kept getting altered, just like the most limpid coast. Lin Xin's hands were joined up, his eyes glinting up. Lifting his hand, a flame headed a probing attack at that holy knight. Bang! As the blue fire curled up, the holy knight stood unmoving, and the flame collided with his shield, but did not infect him, nor did it even manage to make it past that shield materialized from spiritual highland. This first attack was only filled with explosive properties, and as a fire mage, his greatest field lay in the explosive power in his attack. This was a battle between the strongest spear and the sturdiest shield. Lin Xin continued his global offenses with no hesitation. As his hands were waved about, series of blue flames were shot at the holy knight like blue lightning bolts. This video will end here.